Hello, welcome to the Squarebase Show with your hosts, Rob and Val. And in this show, we're going to be talking about the best army for beginners.
Beginners.
Wow.
Hello, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking. We apologize. We missed a week. I was away and I have been a little sick. But I've come in specially for today to record a video so we could talk about the beautiful old world that is. I have an event this weekend. Val's got an event rapidly coming up, and I'm sure many people are still getting their first games of the match play guide in. So still so much to talk about, which is very exciting, as well as new Arcane Journals on the horizon. Before we do any of that, Val, how have you been?
Very good. Thanks for approving time off for a vacation with the family. I appreciate that very much. It was a
Where did you vacate?
Lovely week. Where were we?
Not to dox you. You might not want to say.
No, I think I'm okay. We're in Parry Sound, Ontario, which is north of here. So it's like a nice cottage country with my brother-in-law. The whole in-law clan was there, and it was a really nice time with kiddos and such. So it was great. Not very Warhammer related though.
That's so okay. Doesn't need to be, as they say.
I mean, perhaps there were moments of pining for Warhammeriness.
Oh yeah.
But I could not. I was hoping to maybe do a in the car show, but I just couldn't bring myself to wake up that early.
I think I canceled.
Maybe it was a mutual cancellation.
I think it was a mutual.
Okay.
It was like, hey, buddy, I'm not leaving the house today. And you were like, okay, that seems fine. Okay. But while you're away, did you have time to ruminate? Did you have time to ruminate on a couple of different things? Number one, you got any future Warhammer plans? I know you have an event, but what's your current hankering for armies to play and things to do in the kind of Warhammer space? I saw a lovely conversation happening yesterday around the Renegade pack, or Renegade 2.0, which is still available in the didgeridoo comments, I'm assuming.
1.5, no 2.0 yet.
Oh, apologies. The 1.5. So lots of... Sorry. It's different. All the additions and stages.
So look, all the most recent update hopes to do is just get it sort of working with the match play guide version and the new errata and FAQ, which isn't so new anymore. I guess it's over a month ago now, 2 months even. I don't even know what day it is, but nonetheless. So yeah, but eventually there will be a full 2.0, which will be perhaps a rewrite, an evolution of the Renegade. I just don't want people to get confused, because I get every single time I talk about it, I don't know if it's the same guy or like a conspiracy of Dark Elf players who just hit me with a lot of stuff. And I just want them to know this is probably out of scope for now. And probably, I don't know, somewhere in the late fall timeline, I think, once things have settled a little bit more in our new Cathay and MPG world, we'll come back at it with some more fun adjustments. But that's it. And then Warhammer wise, other than that, still loving the Lizardmen, but having a lot of fun with those guys.
Oh, nice. Okay. And you have which event is coming up for you soon?
We've got the Square-Based Open Tirana, October 18th and 19th, and then followed very quickly in November by the Cali Cup. If California still exists, I will be going there, I guess. We'll see how that all pans out. So yeah, in the didgeridoo, you can have links to both those glorious things. What about you, Rob? You got any?
Yeah, I've just been thinking about California a lot, but other than that,
any hopes for the future beyond the immediate present?
Zero.
I try not to go. Yeah.
Zero, as we know. But what is exciting is I have an all-world event this weekend here at the TS Arena. 2,600 points. It's not a sellout. It's not a gangbuster. I think we might end up as low as like 6 to 8 people, which I'm not mad about. That's a lovely round robin. In fact, actually, I wanted to bring something up with you and kind of ask the audience real quick before we get into the main subject. Will we ever get to the main subject? Do we have time? Let's find out. One of the things that we've seen happen in Age of Sigmar is, because we track the event data, we've ended up with less. Now, obviously, Old World is interesting in that it's in a growth phase. We haven't reached a plateau. But with AOS, what's happened is we've had more people playing AOS compared to last year. Okay. However, those people playing AOS, this is at events, have been playing them at smaller events more frequently. So we
That's
have
interesting.
more. So we have more unique players.
Right.
So like more people playing, and those people have been playing more frequently at smaller events, and then large events have started to trend down as not happening very often, and also not being very well attended. Now I argued that actually, and I think I made a video about this, but I might make a bigger video about this. Actually, I think this is super good for the consumer. What are your kind of thoughts about that and the validity of like events? You know, a 16, 18, 30 person event. Like, how do you feel about those things right now, especially while we're in the grassroots growth phase of the old world?
I think basically however they can come. We in Toronto, I guess not. I guess the weekend I was away. So last weekend before last, there was the B-side RTT here in Toronto, and it attracted 24 people to a one-dayer. And that was fantastic. And that got a different set of people out that wouldn't necessarily come out for a 2-day event. Maybe 2 days is a big bite. It's a lot of time to be used. But 24 people was, I thought, pretty impressive for a one-day event and the first event those guys ran. And in general, I think, you know, when you're starting out, as long as the event goes well, you know, it takes year-on-year growth to keep building on top of that. And if you're seeing a change or a shift in taste and preferences in AOS, I find that interesting. But I would think that like there are, you know, opportunities out there for larger GTs. Like the Square-Based Open Toronto will also feature an AOS event that can also get big if the player demand if the demand from players is there. But there just also aren't a lot of like large AOS or old world events available to go to, period, in my region. So we'll see. I'm keen to find out how many people we can get out there. We did about 60 last year, and that was a great size, to be honest. Like as far as big event goes, once you start getting into the really silly triple-digit numbers or 4-digit numbers for some of the really mega ones, like it's not really much point to it. You can't really see, you at the end of the day, you only really get to meet the 5 players or 6 players you play against. So, you know, there is sort of there's a top end level of utility to a large event that I think, you know, you once you're up over, you know, 60, you know, it starts being a bit diminishing returns. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Plus also the vibes, they're not maxing at that level.
You're not vibes. It's harder to vibes max up at that tier, but I mean, it's still cool. Like going to Adepticon, being in a big room with like just a crazy amount of people playing games is still really cool. It's sort of awe-inspiring, but it doesn't have to be every event you go to. So having more frequent local things that are available to you that you can go to is also awesome, and I think better for building up community. One thing we're starting locally here is a league, which I think is also a super good way to build community and make connections between people. And again, provides a different way for folks to just make sure they get a regular game in against maybe someone that they haven't had a chance to play before.
I think that's also a kind of nice jump off point / segue into talking about what we want to talk about today, which is the best armies for beginners, especially with the new match play guide. Thank you so much. Well, you fed me. You opened the door. I just ran through it head first, screaming into the night. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. My personal take is that it's really good for the consumer, which I think is excellent. I think more often is also really positive as well. I think that's good. I think it's also really good for the old world online conversation because as we get a larger conversation happening around the game, it's better to feed the internet hysteria more juicy bits every week so that they can look as stupid as we need them to look. So that's positive. That helps.
With that, I think there's some very valid criticisms out there right now. However, fundamentally, I think the game is better than it was, and it's a lot of fun. And there's always going to be boogeymen out there, and you're probably not going to face them. I mean, for the most part, you know what I mean. So like, not every single person at a tournament is going to be running the top tier, like face smashing options. Period. Full stop. And so like. That's the way that goes. So like, although it might be the only thing in your nightmares, the only possible thing you could face is the worst possible situation for you. when you actually play in an event, you're probably not going to play that army 5 times. There's going to be other people there. People have what they have, and also not everyone enjoys playing the most intense thing. So yeah, having actual events means that people go out and realize, oh, wait a minute, this is fun.
Yeah,
and that's
we talk a lot about the cultural change. Actually, for beginners, if you are watching this, we talk a lot about the cultural change from what was Warhammer Fantasy Battle to what is now. But actually, one of the things that I find to be really beneficial, this change into small events more often, I actually think is incredibly conducive to a better state of play. Because back in the day, what used to happen is there'd be one large event per quarter, and whatever did well at that event effectively defined the experience of like everybody, and was the online conversation for a long time, especially because the game was slow, the game was grindy. It wasn't necessarily solved, but there definitely were like it wasn't quite as aggressive. And I'm not talking about rule changes from Games Workshop. I'm just talking about generally people playing more games. So I think that's fun as well. Obviously, we're all praying for the Nomadic War 5.0. That's always like a fun moment. Like if you know something maybe isn't as good, let's say Nomadic War as an example, then the very concept of being able to play it and do well with it at an event, or even seeing it go 5.0 is a great story. Like it's an uplifting tale of defeating the evil, which is great. So more events, better. I think just my TLDR, I think that's actually really good for us as a community, and also good for the consumer as well. That was my main takeaway. Good for the consumer is great. Do I need to travel to another state? If there are states, country, or is there just a local 12-person event down the road? That's actually really wicked. And I think that's a really healthy place for the game to be at in the future. So great, love that.
Yeah, and if you don't have one down the road, be the change you want to see in the world. You know,
exactly.
Run an event.
So hello, new players. If you listened through 12 minutes of that, or even if you're not a new player, please do let us know in the comments what your hot takes are on this subject, because obviously this is going to be interesting. So with the new match play guide, all of the changes to the Renegade rules now done, we can finally say that we are starting down this journey of what we're going to be playing over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. We don't know the timeline.
Who knows?
Who knows? But excitingly, it's going to be really fun to maybe pick up a new army, or you might think about jumping into the old world. This might be one of those things you've been thinking about, or you want to send this to one of your friends, or you might be thinking about a different army. So here are some hot takes on the armies, and it's about play style. Maybe it's a little bit about the ability to collect them, I guess.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, that's got to be a factor. What about, play style, so difficulty in using them? Is that what we're thinking here?
Yeah, Old World is inherent. Warhammer is hard. All Warhammer. That's important.
All Warhammer is hard.
Warhammer is hard. So yeah, I guess there's definitely, we could talk about that. We should talk about how difficult it is to play as well, for sure. The 3 metrics, I guess 3 metrics should be how difficult they are to play, how fun are they, and how difficult are they to collect. It seems like a nice 3 metrics. Okay. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that feels all right to me.
I think some people will want what's the best army to win with, but I think unfortunately, I think that can change a lot. And skill expression is still dominant in Old World over every other game system.
Yes, I would think so. And also, like, I don't know, by the time you get your army built and painted, or even just built, things could be different. You never know. You never know how things will unravel, right? So you want to definitely go with something that you like the style of, the vibes of, because that is one thing about fantasy that has, I think, stayed fairly consistent, is that the archetypes of these armies, sort of their core identity doesn't change a ton over the editions. So that means if you like the way orcs and goblins are, if you like that they're sort of their feel now, although they may shift a little bit in how powerful their style is, they're still going to be orcs and goblins if the game changes around them, right? So
absolutely. Okay, all right, so first one, I'm going to hit you up with Beastmen Brayherds. That's the first one on the list. Fun to play, difficult to collect, and also what was the third one?
Are they good to win with?
No, we cancelled that one. It was
Cancelled that.
Are they fun to play? Are they easy to collect? Are they easy to play with? That's it. Difficulty to play.
I feel like also, yeah. So I guess model count, I think, also factors in for a beginner. Are we also talking about beginner here, like beginner to Warhammer, or just beginner Old World? We'll just say beginner Old World, right?
Beginner to Old World, I think. Okay. So Beastmen Brayherds, sir, what do you think? What factor would you like to pick up?
I think I don't know. You kick it off. Let me just set the tone here. Set the tone on this.
Okay, no problem. All right. So model wise, they're easy to collect. All the ranges available in plastic, modern plastic as well. Well, modern-ish plastic. I'll say. In fact, actually, that's better. Having now built a Cathay army, I'd much rather build a Beastmen army. Let me put that out there. So easy to collect, I'd say very high. You got a nice. Talking about fun to play. You have a nice wide range of options. You have the ability to have big Minotaurs. Maybe they're not the best, but you do have the ability to do that if you really want to. You got big monsters, which again, maybe aren't the best, but that's also fun as well. You've also got lots of magic potentially, which is super nice. Plus you got ambushing, which is fun in the cabbage smashing meta, which I think is interesting. So that the play style I think is fun. You can collect all the models really, really easy. I think skill expression's quite high on these because you really got to understand. If you were just, you would quite rightly say to yourself, well, I'll take some little fellas. And I'll take some big fellas and a couple of monsters. And that'd be a great thing to think, I reckon. Problem is that maybe if you were trying to do super, super well with it, maybe it'd be pushing more towards magic. Maybe it would be pushing towards like big blocks of little fellas. So like you might not necessarily get exactly what you thought you needed to play. So I think maybe that's, but I think you would still have a great time with just your rate. I mean, I think Gore pretty decent now. So I think that's my hot takes. I'm going to say pretty good. I put these like A. I
mean, they have a good battalion box, so like just as an easy thing to grab off the shelf. They're pretty decent now that infantry have more of a role. I think you would use most of the parts of that box. See, one of the things that's really hitting me, making this difficult, is that Beastmen. I don't know if they are something that really sings. They just don't sing to me as an army, right? So like it's tough for me to feel very passionate, especially as a first spot. But I can say that like they do have a lot of cool fantasy creatures in them. So like they do, that is the home of a lot of the weird chaosy looking like monsters and stuff that like lingers in the forest. So there is that. And you're right. They also just have the benefit of, Minotaurs as a core thing that you could build an entire army around, which would also drop your model count down a little bit if you didn't want to commit too massively. The one thing though that in general with them is I do think it is a bit of a higher model count army if you wanted to build them out. So that does immediately make them feel a little bit less like perfect beginner for me. And because I think a lot of the time, like a lot of the armies, I think they're going to be the most beginner friendly, have like those big, like hero units, on maybe a nice juicy monster. So I don't know, maybe it's just B for Beastmen, or maybe it's my anti-Beastmen bias, but I would put them a little bit lower.
Okay, are you happy? Would you say you're close to A? Are you more AB than you are BC?
Yeah, more AB.
Okay,
yeah.
So then if I vote A, maybe we could settle in A, and it could be a bottom A, top B. We could say that.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Well, let's see how it settles out. Let's see how it settles out.
Okay, all right. Next up is the Kingdom of Bretonnia. Okay, so the next section will all be done in French. You see, my friend...
Only fine Norman French.
They are these horrible...
Les horribles.
These horrible lords and ladies push down us dirty peasants. I don't know why we're self-described dirty peasants. Us dirty peasants. So, what do you think about these?
Bretonnia. Okay, well, here, as a beginner army, first and foremost, you get a beginner box set for the Bretonians. A pretty smashing good one. So you get your rule book, which is mostly accurate still. Probably 95% of the words haven't changed in it. You get, and you also, unlike a lot of the battalion boxes, you get a hero on a Pegasus, along with your sort of your men at arms and your archers and your not questing knights, knights of the realm. So it's a good starter box set, first and foremost. Secondly, pretty fantastical. I gotta say, Bretonnia, if you're looking, if we're going a little vibes based here, as far as like a what is a very Warhammer fantasy, what is a very old world army. Well, Bretonnia was so Warhammer fantasy that it didn't make it to AOS. They fully killed it off. It could only exist in this world. I think there's a lot that's going to appeal to people on the Bretonnian side, and I think you've seen it. A lot of Bretonnians running around on the tabletops right now, as far as like the army that got them back into the game. So I think Bretonnia, to me, one of the S tier beginner armies, especially too, since they provided the permission these days to not paint each horsey an individual heraldry, which was, I think the painting component was a big problem for them, but the studio paint job now has been simplified, I think, very purposefully. So I think it's much less intimidating to jump into.
Okay, I would say that for rules complexity, they feel like that they're very difficult. You generally have lances to deal with, and you've got to come into lots, especially if you don't play very regularly. It's not like the easiest thing to necessarily like. And if you're not playing very regularly, just like, I don't know, 4 up here. Like, am I breaking? Have you broken the red lance? I don't know. Who cares? So, but
I would blunted right now.
Yeah, am I blunted? Yeah. Who knows? I think that's quite confusing. Also, cavalry generally as a thing is a little bit like, well, it's super easy to just throw it down the line. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult and nuanced to. I'd say ease of play is actually not very high. Personally, I don't think it's that easy to play with. And I think that's, you generally tend to see that. Bretonnia's always been considered to be really good, but actually doesn't necessarily post aggressive results, which means it feels like it's good if played well versus good if not played well. Also, horses are actually quite a bitch to paint. I'm throwing that out there. They suck.
I mean, perhaps you're not an equine file. Maybe you don't like horses.
Equifibe.
Maybe similar to my.
It's definitely Equifibe. Maybe
I just am biased towards fancy beasts, and you like the more proletarian beasts. Maybe that's what's going on here.
maybe. But that's my hot take on the rules. Rules. I'd say it's not easy to play personally. Green Knight aside, then I'd say collecting is fine. You can just collect them. You just buy them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's easy peasy. No dramas there. And then I'd say hobbying. So that's ease, collecting, and then the third one was, but collecting and painting. I don't know if that's the easiest one to paint. It's not easier to paint than Beastmen. Beastmen is so easy. It's just like slap chop your little heart out, right?
A lot of negative space on the horses, even if they don't have to all be individually heraldic.
But people do want to do that, though.
They do.
90% of the people who buy Bretonnia are like, right, I'm painting each knight individually.
At least 2 individually painted ones, and then the rest is primed. And one day in a generation, they will have their dream Bretonnian army. I don't know. Pegasus Knights. Big bricks of men at arms, the heroes on pegs. Those all don't sound too hard to use. But I would say, I mean, if we're not putting these guys S, then they are definitely in the higher reaches of A tier, and it has a literal starter box. I
would put it in C. So the A.
C tier?
Yeah, I don't think they're easy to play. I don't think they're super easy to collect and paint. And then fun to play. I think you're like, I mean, actually, I'll put fun to play. You get to do a French accent the entire time, which is obviously amazing, right? And also be a lord. I kill your lord with my lord, you weak bitch.
You
That's
pray to
obviously-
the lady. You get to say the may the lady bless you all the time. It's like
That's not cool.
It's not cool. It's up there with wawing with that. But like, I think, wow, C tier?
I'm just saying
we're
for
far apart
beginners
here.
Yeah,
The show
exactly.
might just fall off the rails right
I
now.
know.
I don't know how to haggle this.
Yeah, you were like S. I was like, we are going to disagree. Can you just be comfortable and meet me in the middle for a beginner? Like, it's the baseline. What if it's just the baseline? Think about it. We're just saying the most average army to collect, Bretonnia, or the most averagely easy army for a beginner is Bretonnia, and it's a B.
All right. I mean, one thing that you do have over me is control of the tier maker.
I'll put it right there. If no,
well,
never.
no. I mean that doesn't feel fair because obviously we're too far apart. But yeah, we could split the difference and go to B. Even though I did listen to an audiobook called "Never Split the Difference," but I don't really know anything about it aside from the title. So,
did you listen to it yet?
I have listened to it, but I was disappointed because the author didn't read it, and he's a funny guy.
Oh.
But anyway,
okay, all right.
Neither here nor there.
B for Bretonnia, A for Beastmen. So then Grand Cathay.
Oh, okay.
Grand Cathay. So ease to collect. Brand new boxes have just come out.
Super easy.
Yeah, super easy. Maybe even very easy right now at time of recording because people are selling their boxes right now.
Who's selling their boxes?
Like as second hand. They might be like, do you know what? This is a lot.
No.
And I bought them.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, potentially. I've seen some postings, but that's an aside.
I mean, I have seen a number of, in general, Facebook posts of like just a whole lot of old world stuff where people had just went way too hog wild, got overwhelmed, and then did sell it. But I mean, that happens in 40K and AOS too. People go way too deep on the first dabble. Maybe that should be a takeaway for beginners, folks. Just start with a nice, achievable bite. Like grab yourself that battalion box, etc.
And if you're interested in playing small format games, available on theHonestWargamingWithDaemon.com is a 4A pack of missions that you can play at just only 500 points. Thanks for bringing it up. Oh, that was tiring, getting all the way up there. Okay, so Grand Cathay. Models are easy to collect. Not necessarily easy to paint, though. There's a lot of detail on those miniatures. So I'm going to put that out there. I would say not.
Also, apparently, I've been seeing some grumbling about the assembly as well. They are tricky to put together.
They're tricky to put together, having built an army of it myself. They are also covered in slippage. When people say mold lines, yes, but what they're really talking about is slippage lines. They're like the little gap between two bits of the press. And they are pretty all over the place, but actually that seems to be an SDS problem. I don't know if what happened with that. It's also the same in the Heresy. I don't know if what happened is maybe Main Studio gave their old plastic machines to SDS, and then they don't seal quite as well. I'm not really sure. I haven't built any modern.
Or they added a third shift as well to their factory, so maybe it's just the night guys. But they
only do SDS stuff.
They only do SDS. And Blood Bowl, could be. So yeah, I would say the hobby on these guys definitely seems challenging.
Yeah.
Also, like once you have a balloon built, like that is just a lot of surface area that you have to cover with paint. So yeah, getting them built and painted definitely going to be a challenge. But I would say, from a beginner's perspective, what's nice is. Kind of no matter what units you pick, I mean, some are going to be better than others, obviously. But because it's such a tight range, there's not a lot going on. Like it's the first wave of the range. There'll be more stuff added. You can't really buy wrong.
Yeah,
you can't really go wrong with it, right? Yeah. So like you're going to have stuff that's usable no matter what you do. Buying even like one of each box available, you're going to have an army that will play on the tabletop. And so I think, and also if you're just starting out in the hobby, the army's going to grow with you. So once you get through that first wave, they'll probably release some cool new stuff in a year or two, and you'll be ready to sort of add some stuff to your collection. So I do think Cathay feels like it's a cool beginner army. Rules wise, lots going on in your brain though, because each unit is very densely packed with abilities and things they can do. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think rules-wise, also obviously, like elephant in the room, currently a conversation about just how strong they are as an army. So you might also buy wrong here, and you might want to thematically run something like a lot of balloons as an example. But if they do get limited, or even outright just stopped, which is some conversation, you then can end up with very expensive purchases, which are not playable, at least in your local area or around. And also, then you become even more truncated in your choices, because, as we've talked about, it's a very limited range. So depending on what happens with that conversation in the future, that could be a little bit of an issue. Rules-wise, like you said, though, I think that they're fine. I think they're fine. I think I agree with you. I think that they're a bit, but many of the armies are a bit, right? Like some little less of a bit, but these are definitely a bit. And then ease to play, again, that's quite interesting, because I think actually it's a sum of its parts versus some of the other armies where it's very much like these elements are good. And also, I would say one bonus for this army, like Empire, like Chaos Dwarfs, like Skaven to a degree, is you can have it all. You can do magic, you can do artillery, you can do blocks, you can do cavalry, you can do a monster. So there's very few armies that kind of have this like through line of everything. But I would agree with you. I would not put it in S or A for a beginner. As much as I would like to, I think it's a really attractive range for beginners. But I would say that it's a little bit more challenging. I don't know though. I don't know if I was too harsh on Bretonnia. I don't know. Like B? What do you think?
I think part of what makes a good beginner army is something that's going to make you excited to use it, right? And I think there's stuff that's exciting about Cathay, namely its newness. It looks really sweet, looks cool, and again, it's something that's going to grow over time. But yeah, I think especially on the hobby side, it does seem a little bit tricky. And also just a note about, for example, right now, there's a lot of people talking about balloons. And yeah, they're in my country, in my dollars, they're $200 each. And, a very overwhelmingly powerful army might be a butt ton of balloons. But here's the thing, guys. When something is really, really strong in Warhammer, it tends to either be, attacked by the community and maybe limited at events, likely going to be the case at the Square-Based Open Toronto. Or the studio gets around to making a fix or a modification to that, and they're suddenly either you're not able to take a bunch of them, or they're not as good. So general rule of thumb for beginners, if something's really good, don't buy 100 of them, because one day they won't be very good, even if it's just a different edition, and then you suddenly have a lot of excess stuff on your shelf, looking at you, poison blocks of archers. So that's why I'd say, like, just especially when you're starting out, get a decent mix of stuff, and don't necessarily lean into like the most savage stuff that you could possibly build, because it could be an expensive shelf decoration in short order. Would be my general advice. And therefore, B. Let's go B.
Perfect. All right. So Chaos Dwarfs. How do you feel about these?
Well, this one's a little bit tricky. So, like right now, just from a collect perspective, obviously, really cool new range coming out for AOS. That will be, easy to collect parts of things from the Chaos Dwarf list. A lot of the most important pieces will be available for you there, but it's going to be very difficult for you to get most of the war machines and things like that. So the hobby would require you to either go third party, recast, secondhand, or 3D printed to get to round out your force, which is not impossible, but does require some knowledge and maybe not the most beginner accessible. And then of course it's a legacy PDF. So if you're not using Renegades, they are fairly hamstrung right now, especially due to how expensive their main caster is, and how inefficient they are at casting in the new rules. So I'd say they're in a pretty rough spot as far as a beginner army, or as far as an army in general is concerned. So they're feeling pretty low on the list for me.
Okay, yeah, no, I would agree with you. Yeah, building the army is difficult for sure. Sourcing the models, although painting them is a little bit easy because they're only little fellas, so that makes it like it's not as much surface area. So that's a bonus.
Yep.
But yeah, for sure, sourcing the models at least is immediately your hardest pitch, and that sucks a lot.
It will get easier. Like it will get with the AOS stuff. A lot of it will be usable, I think, for Old World purposes. But yeah, there'd be some big gaps in the line for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a huge amount of models really coming out for the range, which is nice. So yeah, available in plastic. There's definitely room. Playstyle also is a little bit challenging. It is one of those armies which Games Workshop is quite clearly intended to leave to die on the vine. So like, there's some little quirks. And unfortunately, if you are new, this is the first of the armies that we're talking about where there are legends. So we just should go over that a little bit. Games Workshop has two types of armies. It has official armies. It has legends armies. And those armies, unfortunately, do sometimes take up a little bit of space in people's people. I mean, if you hang around with these people, you shouldn't hang around with them anyway. But they say like they're not an official army, you shouldn't play them, or they're going to go away, etc., etc. And people do say those things. And so if you are new and that's really exciting for you, and you want to do Chaos Dwarfs, I think there's a little bit of something to be conscious of. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's right that it happens either, but it's just something to be conscious of, and that's true for all of the legend armies. So there's that. Chaos Dwarfs, maybe in particular of all armies, never a real army. Playstyle also is a little bit challenging as well. You have some very unique units, but you know, they're also, like I've said, they've got one of those unique rosters where it's got magic, it's got war machines, it's got monsters, it's got everything to play with. Maybe it's not quite as good as the other stuff, but it's pretty fun.
They're more like from a roster perspective, they're a little more interesting than regular dwarves, just because of what you said there, right?
Well, that's actually one of
you have access to black orcs and the wyvern and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I mean, it's not the absolute worst. I wouldn't put them in D tier necessarily.
No.
But it is they're tough. Yeah, they feel C tier to me.
Yeah, they're also tough in that, like, the thing that you would really want for them, which is like the artillery, and this is also true for Dwarfs as well. The artillery isn't super impactful. Like, which is kind of, you're like, okay. Then some of the other key units are also not super impactful. So the fun element is also a little bit challenging as well, because you don't really have like when you release Fanatics for Orcs and Goblins, obviously that's fun as hell. You're loving that. When you do a charge of Bretonnians, that's fun as hell. You love that as well. But the fun that Chaos Dwarfs or their theme doesn't really play through in their like roster or in their rule set. So I'd say that's a bit of a problem as well.
Unless you love hobgoblins.
Unless you love hobgoblins, in which case, a classic term, the juice is not worth the squeeze, is available. So I'd say C seems really fair for Chaos Dwarfs, and also C for Chaos Dwarfs.
Hey, C for Chaos Dwarfs. Guys, still reading it too much. B for, Beastmen wound up in A tier, so we already broke this one.
Okay, well, because we're in to Dark Elves now. And D is available. What do you think about Dark Elves?
Shoot, this always says so. Friends of the show, fans of the show, will know that I did once propose Dark Elves should be removed from the game because I found them boring. I've been fed my own butthole many times over this comment, and so, however, I would say, how much of them are still available? Are they still in Cities of Sigmar? Are they currently still available?
They are still available. Although recently I went to Warhammer World and went around the museum, and if no one knows, the museum sometimes models are missing from the museum because they're currently in photo. So all the Cities of Sigmar stuff was they're being photoed for books. So Cities of Sigmar stuff was missing, but Dark Elves and Dwarves were not missing.
As in they were still on the shelf?
They were still on the shelf.
Oh, no. All right. Well, actually, so here's what I would say about Dark Elves. I suspect that they are, of all of the quote unquote legacy armies, I suspect they're one of the most likely to come back. If not, like, I'd say right up there with vampire counts as like confused as to how they aren't already in the game, right? So that's the way I generally see it. Right now, though, they do have like high elves in general, like elves in general are struggling this edition. And then the dark elf version of elves is like an older draft of where even the underpowered regular elves got to. So they struggle a little bit on the tabletop. They do have access to a Sweet Dragon. So they have some power pieces that they can play with. They got some access to some good buffing magic and things like that. So on the table, I mean, if you really do love your elves, your dark elves, yeah, they're you know, they can work. In Renegades. Again, I've been receiving constant feedback about how in a future version of Renegades, we could maybe look at bringing in more of their feel on the tabletop, because right now they are a bit bland. So in general, I hate to put more legacy armies low, but how do you feel about Dark Elves as a beginner army? It feels like they're going to be tough to access until they're a core faction, which I think will happen in the future.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I agree with that.
And they're kind of a tough hang on the table right now.
I agreed with that too.
And then yeah, but they are cheap to find on the secondary market, so that's nice.
I'd say a bonus for Dark Elves is that generally Dark Elf dragons, or taking a couple of Dark Elf dragons, kind of works. So that's like a nice way to kind of take the army, and obviously that's also a theme and an element of them as well, which I think is interesting. Generally, their core concept, though, of like, you know, murder and mayhem, doesn't feel like it's intrinsically part of their roster as a playstyle perspective. So like the theme / fun, the fun of the list. I think a fun list plays how you expect it to play. I think in many ways, and unfortunately, I don't think it necessarily has that. In many ways, like it really doesn't have that. I mean, Hales will feel like a similar conversation definitely when we get to that convo, because they don't necessarily feel like the elite. They don't feel like that they are these consummate warriors. They're pointed like it, not it. So the fun is missing. Difficult-ish to collect, I'd say. Easier than Chaos Dwarves, but still not easy. You can't just buy a battalion box. And then for the hobby, again, because of the difficulty to collect, fun, hobby. What was the third one?
I would say, just after doing a quick scan, virtually like a very large portion of their like plastic range still available, online only, though it may be still available to buy. So they are, you know, they are purchasable. So that is more than some of the legacy armies could say. Yeah,
for sure. So for me, I don't know. I feel like, do they sit where Chaos Dwarves sit? I feel like they sit like Chaos Dwarves sit, because
maybe higher up than Chaos Dwarves, but yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Chaos Dwarves like at least play more how you expect them to play. They just don't achieve anything with the way that they play. They're like, oh, I'm definitely firing all my guns. You're like, great. Do anything? Not much. No.
Yeah, and I think Dark Elves just suffer from a lot of the elvish problem that exists right now.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's fair. Okay, all right. Well, don't worry. We've broken our convention, Dark Elves in D, but we do have Demons of Chaos, so don't worry.
Okay.
So Demons, very collectible right now. Everything's available, although it is more difficult with base sizes on certain models on where you're going to put them. Also, it's a Legends army, so it has that kind of like unofficial, official status, of course. So I would say to hobby and collect. Also, one of the easiest armies to hobby. Contrast paints, good for this. There's so much theme to them. There's like, you know, they're that middle generation of kit where everything just goes together so quick. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 parts, which is super nice. So actually super easy to hobby. One of the easiest actually. Available everywhere. Secondhand market, fantastic. 3D market, excellent. So very available. Fun to play. I don't know if they're fun to play.
So this is another legacy faction we should point out. So again, if you're just using the raw PDF, kind of, again, real tough hang on the tabletop. They're pointed really, really high. So like the models are expensive. So a lot of times you don't get as much stuff as you would think you should have. And so a lot of the rules are undercooked. So they are tough. Renegades, I think, does give them a big boost, so it doesn't feel like a bummer to play them at nearly as much. Gives you some access to stuff certainly that you don't get in the sort of legacy PDF of a lot of the factions. Demons get, I think, some of the most amount of tweaks from Renegades, so try to bring them up a notch. But overall, it's I think a tough army to be effective with, and I think the response I get from a lot of Demons players is that like on the tabletop, it's just you're always sort of fighting an uphill battle. The match play, I'll be interested to see what happens with match play guide, and especially also some of the changes to things like regeneration. And how that helps Demons of Nurgle and that kind of stuff. So there's some hope on the tabletop, I think, for them. But overall, also proof's a bit in the pudding. A lot of people don't seem to reach for demons. Like it's not just does not seem to be a very popular army. It doesn't seem to resonate with a lot of folks. So demons do feel D tier to me.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a little bit disappointing for several reasons, but I agree with you. I think that's the kind of main takeaway, in that it has so much scope to be so, oh my god, arcane journals, like Armies of Infamy for these would be incredible. So much theme, so much to play with, so much also you can do with it so obviously one of the really fun things about generally the gaming state is the Warhammer sometimes ends up in a rock, paper, scissors mechanic. What's interesting is, like Empire as an example, I can take a load of cannons, and obviously that's really good into some high toughness, high wound things, great. But also I can not take cannons, and I can take a lot of dudes on the board, and maybe that's just really good for objectives, and actually that's got width as an army. So from the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, it's not that Empire always beats an army with lots of monsters, it's just sometimes, depending on how you build it. So it's got a nice bit of width, and demons have got a lot of width. Like they've got a lot of opportunity to take a lot of different types of units, and also do a lot of, like, Nurgle can be very tanky, and Khorne can be very killy, and Tzeentch can be very like debuffy. But they didn't really necessarily put those aggressively into the rules, which I think is disappointing. And I would have liked to have seen that. And I think it has scope to be a very fun counter meta balancing kind of army, where it's like, okay, well, something's a bit too strong, don't worry, demons can solve it, as an example. But they never put that in there, which I think is a shame. So I'm going to agree with you. Also because there's a question mark, also last point, there's a question mark around demons in Warhammer generally right now. It's a scuttlebutt. Maybe it's just so content creators can constantly get more clicks, we don't know, but it could be, as we speak, the demons might be leaving generally Warhammer as is, and we don't know why.
Old World hot take on this one. So it looks like they're on the way out of 40K. So they're becoming more integrated, right? So like they're becoming in 40K, they used to have much like in fantasy, you had Wars of Chaos, and then you had Demons of Chaos. And in 40K, you had like Chaos Space Marines, and then you had demons. And now all of the different Chaos Space Marines aren't as much of a monolith. They've all been broken out into their Chaos gods. So you have sort of more mono faction aligned Chaos Space Marines getting their own books, like Death Guard, for example, are your Nurgle faction, and they might start including Nurgle demons as a part of that army rather than being its own standalone bespoke thing. I think the same thing goes for AOS. Each one of the gods sort of has their own armies rather than there being one sort of like conglomerate version of them. Yeah. And they've also been resculpting a lot of those to give them more like specificity inside those. So I'm wondering, perhaps we're seeing a phase out of demons, if you will. And you may perhaps one day see a bunch of demon kits without a home, and like Beastmen, perhaps they appear in Old World as like the neglected faction that just gets brought back and put into Old World, where all those old kits can live and be sold at a discount. So like that's my upside view of demons. Also, we're en route to the Great War Against Chaos at some point in the timeline of Old World, so we're gonna need demons. It would shock me again if some form of a demonic army isn't in Old World in the future, especially if they're being phased out in other places or made different, like the flavor really changing in those two mainline games. Did they disappear from Heresy?
No. Well, yes and no. There's an update coming in the next few months. We'll have to see what happens with that. I think that'd be quite interesting. Also, it could just be like a re-envisioning. Obviously, like demons were based a lot on like Morlock, not Morlock. Alfred. Is it Alfred? Come on, someone help me out. The guy that did the book about basically the whole of Chaos was ripped off of Alfred Murdoch, someone like that. Anyway, Moorcock, that's what it is.
Moorcock, Malfred Moorcock.
Alfred Moorcock, whatever his name is. Anyway,
very English name.
Yeah, he wrote most of Michael. He wrote most of the original demon stuff, and then Games Workshop obviously stole it because they do that. And obviously, like at the time. That's a lot of sense. Like 60s, 70s, kind of like post-World War, and a lot of like like Enlightenism. It might just be changing that they're changing demons up. It makes much more sense now if we see some just like suit and tie executives in the demon role, and so we you know, maybe they're just changing that up. Someone from the Demon Storm is just someone who like just keeps talking about Robert Kinsey or whatever the fuck his name was, you know, and they're just like
standing there with a briefcase, like that's the demon. Yeah, I like it. I like it. There's a private jet on a flight stand. Yeah, nice.
Okay, anyway, so Dwarven Mountain Holds.
Okay. See how aligned we are on this one.
Oh. Jesus, okay.
Will they rise to great heights?
Will they live inside their tiny little holds? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to? And then you, because if I go first, then you can shout me down. Like, I didn't shout you down. I hope I had a discussion with you about Bretonnia, but you can then be like, "You're wrong, you stupid bitch."
Well, I would never do such a thing. I think we have spirited conversations, and usually are more or less in agreement. So go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say about the Short Kings.
Easy to collect, very high, very small. Very small fellas, easy to build.
Low barrier to entry, you might say.
Fantastic. Yeah, they definitely rise to the top in that regard. They actually, hobby one element that's tough is the beards are actually quite a bitch to paint, especially for new people.
With contrast, though?
Not with contrast, but I don't know. It's a lot of like
3 colors on a dwarf, and one of them is the beard.
Unique motor skills, maybe. Yeah, okay. That's true. Okay, so I would say easy to collect, easy to paint, and easy to hobby, pretty high. So that's pretty easy, which is nice. Although, if we're talking about the range itself, the range doesn't necessarily have a lot of width. With respect to dwarfs, once you paint one, they'll look the same. So a crossbowman can be a ranger, and a ranger can be a crossbowman, and that's fine.
Rangers have a cape.
But they left them at home. You could say that.
I'm just saying, there's some visual delineation.
yeah, for sure. So I would say that's high. I'd say their playstyle, though, is a little one note to some degree.
Can be, but there's some fun stuff. Like, I mean, there's an entire channel devoted to finding fun ways of running dwarves, and I think there are a couple different army archetypes that are both a little more interesting than just stand there and shoot, and you can move around. They got gyrocopters, after all, that can zip around. One of the original bogeymen, but didn't pan out too crazily. So anyway, I interrupted you. Continue.
So I'd say a little one note, personally. Can you beat the king? Can you not beat the king? Although, but fun to play, incredibly fun to play as the dwarf player. Fun to play against, but fun to play. 11 out of 10. You get to grumble. Excellent. You get to talk about beer a lot. Fantastic.
Complaining about your dice is like baked into the I should play dwarves.
You can.
It's like baked in.
Yeah. It's never jumped the shark. Things like doing a war, sometimes maybe have jumped the shark, maybe saying for the lady, maybe jump the shark. However, no one is mad about saying that's going in the book. Having a book, actually writing down people's names. Yep. That's
creepy.
That's never gonna get old. So fun to play, easy to collect. I'd say the one thing that maybe lacks is they're also easy to play as well. Actually, that was a third one. Easy to play, very easy to play, so easy to play. Easy to play.
Literally the definition of come at me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Even better since the match play guide actually to play. Yeah. So don't know what the downside is for them. S?
I think they're S, and I think literally half as much to paint. You might think to yourself, "Oh, I still have to paint a bunch of dwarves," but like genuinely, there's half as much surface area to paint on a dwarf. The battalion box, I believe, is also pretty good as far as like its versatility is concerned. It's you got miners, which come with the miner cart. So yeah, I think dwarves to me, as far as a beginner army, and I think you see this out there, definitely S tier, very popular in the meta for good reason. So dwarves, I think S tier, no doubt, slam dunk, lock it in.
It's locked in. It's locked in. There you go, Dwarven Mountain Holds. The one thing I will say though is for new players is you won't get to engage much in the Magic game. You do. Before someone shouts at me about the Oathstone, but also like but the everyone, not the Oathstone, sorry, the other thing.
The Anvil, dude.
Anvil. But people are, this is really important, going to lie to you about how magic works a lot. They'll be like, no, I just cast a spell, bro. Sorry. And you're a dwarf. You won't understand anything, you stupid.
They've got a decent amount of anti-magic. One thing, actually, what I was going to say that you don't get to learn as much about is the movement game, because they are very slow. So like, I guess deployment, positioning, all that stuff, very important, but it is tough to reposition with them on the field, obviously, unless you are getting some of those double move spells off from the Anvil. So there is that. But overall, I think a great beginner friendly army, and they're also very durable. They're tough. So like, you're not picking up handfuls of them. It's not super demoralizing to play. Even if you lose, you know, you were in a fight and you got to use your toys. So I think that's a good beginner army.
Yeah, I'd say the best description of them is you're in a full suit of armor and someone just runs into your outstretched mailed fist. They just punch themselves on your own hand.
That's right.
Okay, Empire of Man.
Empire of Man. So just like a galaxy of mediocre choices in the Empire of Man. So this is going to be one of the more unfortunate things. Another reason why I think Bretonnians should get back up to A tier is because Empire is going to be something that people immediately want to reach for. Summon the Elector Counts, all that kind of stuff. They have so many cool looking units, iconic, state infantry. They've got the flagellants. They've got knights on horseback. They've got cannons. They've got magic. They've got all this stuff. But tough hang on the tabletop at times. I think probably improving. If you want to shoot guns,
I think it's great on the tabletop at the moment.
If you want to shoot guns, I think Nuln in the current in the current mission set, in the current rule set, Nuln is a really good option. And I do love shooting some guns, and I do love me some Outriders. I know you don't love Outriders.
I'm shouting out Owen right now. You could just have some dudes. Dude, you could just have dudes standing around.
Dude standing,
yeah. And it looks great. Like the first GT I ran under the new match play guide, there was just Owen was bringing lots of dudes. Jack just won it, the most recent one, so there's different GTs. He ran it with the more Empire-based gun one. Gun version, and that looked really good. That actually just looked really good as well. And obviously Jack's a phenomenal player, but Owen's also great as well. I've seen a couple of playstyles now from Empire, and I thought it was legit. And it looks great, and they were having a ball. And also 2,200 points. You can play two steam tanks. Just FYI.
In the square-based format.
Don't know if you know that.
Yes, at the steam tank points level. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. Like they're to me, they're also very similar in from a hobby perspective to Bretonnia, in the sense that like a lot of the cool looking sort of army color choices are like quarter panels or combinations of colors and stripes and stuff. So to get the army to look like it does in your imagination is actually a pretty steep hobby challenge. And the other question is, do you like puffy sleeves and tights and cod pieces? Because that's a very heavy design dynamic on a lot of these things. I don't know. I love Empire. I've got tons of Empire, but it is already built and painted, and so I don't have to face any of those challenges. I just have the on-table challenges. So I don't know. It's tough for me to put this outside of like top of C tier personally.
Okay. I know. Okay. Is it fun to play? I think it's hella fun to play. I think it's hella fun to play.
I think there's a lot of lunchbox. I think there's a lot of lunchbox letdown units where you're so pumped to get your unit on the table, and then it's just a wet noodle. Great sword, brutal. Flagellants, brutal.
Why are you excited to get flagellants on the table? What in the
religious
Protestant
zealots?
Yeah, what in the Protestant guild have you got going on that you're like, I want some flagellants on the table?
They're very grimdark They're grimdark fantasy. They're guys fired up into a frenzy and whipping themselves. Why not? They're Sigmarite nutcases. I guess you could go with the Talabek. Where's your vibe putting them?
I think it's easy to collect, high, although hobby hard. Let's put that out there, especially if you're doing split liverage. Liverage? I think that's right.
Liveries.
So yeah, that's a little tougher. And then, so fun to play. I think hella fun to play. Like just a regular. This is maybe my bias though. Whenever I play any game, like computer game, whatever, I'm just a dude trying to survive whatever the fuck is happening. I'm like, just give me that human dude. He's just trying to make it through.
I get it, but the reality of the human experience kind of sucks, is what I'm saying.
I mean, it's undeniable.
The world is suffering, Rob. Does it have to be so on the tabletop? That's what I want to know. And that's why, like, for a human army, like Cathay, Bretonnia, definitely ahead of these guys in current state.
Okay, hobby high but difficult to do. Like easy to collect but difficult to do. Fun to play, I think hella fun. But ease to play, you're right. It's not the easiest to play. I think it's easier than Bretonnia, because I think there's also some clanky units in Bretonnia. I don't know. I'm putting Cathay above Bretonnia, and then I'll put Empire. I will agree with you, and I'll put. I don't know. I'm going to put them top of C, but you and me at the end can renegotiate Empire and Beastmen together, right? Okay. Like I'm putting them. I don't know. All right, High Elf realms. Okay, easy to collect. Yes, they're just all available in current plastic, which is great. You can prime them.
Pretty range as well.
You can prime them white, and you're mostly done.
You're almost there. Just add some blue.
And you're mostly done. They are sick, which is cool. So easy to collect, very high. Hobby is good. Hobby is not too hard. One of the problems, though, like Empire, in that there are some real clanger units available to you, and they are arguably the cooler units as well.
Yeah.
Not to be disparaging of Lothar and Seaguard. They're also cool. They're also cool, but yeah, some of the other units are a little bit lackluster, which is a shame. And then ease of play is also quite low. They're not that easy to play, I'd say. They really don't, like, you look at some Phoenix Guard or White Lions, you think, yeah, I'm ready to rock, and actually you are not ready to rock. You are wrong. So you're like, these must be good. That's not true. So they don't have monsters, like they got dragons and stuff, but they don't have they got the mirror in. It's okay.
I think they probably at this moment have the best dragon again, just because of how resilient you can make it. So that's doesn't get much easier than a big dragon. There's probably some things that have opened up because of the match play guide, as far as like their elite infantry, just in general, probably got a little bit of a buff, whether that's sword masters or the lion guys. And then, of course, Dragon Princes, because of the change to Impetuous, suddenly they're probably a little bit more interesting as like your elite heavy cavalry option. Sisters of Avalorn are pretty good. Like, there's definitely like things you can put on the table for High Elves. This is another one that's just tough to me because they just, as much as I've tried, they don't sing to me. I know you've been a High Elf fan in your day. But they are, I think, if you like the elf aesthetic, I don't think they're as they're not in as rough a spot as other armies as far as like things that can possibly work on the table. They do get sort of pigeonholed, I think, into a couple of build archetypes though, because this is an army that doesn't have that breadth.
Are those build archetypes fun to play?
I don't know. I've never played them. Okay. But ripping around with the double dragon. I mean, if you're going for like sort of that harsh competitive tier. I don't know. Like, how do you? You probably have better experience seeing people playing with them than I do, because I haven't seen a ton of high elf out there.
Well, yeah,
another sign.
You've got the sisters, which are fun. I think people like using those as well, but they're kind of like a wood elf conversation. They're more fragile than they feel like that they should be. And they were given like fragility for some other bonus, and that other bonus doesn't really emerge. They're in this kind of weird place. I think all three of the elf factions in that they have this you get into them because like with wood elves, you really want to play around with the fact that you're in a forest, and they have that. So actually I think that's great. With dark elves, they're just kind of mean, and wood elves, they're just kind of haughty, and that's actually really hard to translate onto the tabletop, which is why you can see when Age of Sigmar came out, they were like, right, we're going to do mountain elves, we're going to do sea elves. It's much more like direct to the theme, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like
the haughtiness used to result in tremendous superiority. Like that was the last design note of them, was that they were just overwhelmingly efficient at everything they did. So they were delicate, perhaps, like they had low toughness, but they were, they hit very well. They wounded very well. Like they were just elite warriors and, superior, right? There was a superiority to them. Now I don't necessarily get that vibe as much from them. And I don't know, they're just a tough one to peg for me. Their hobby level, again, like you pointed out, not super high. Again, thanks to contrast paints, also the overall model count. You do have the dragons to rely on, so you do have some great character options, and also the griffin. So like there's options there. I don't know. They feel kind of mid. They're certainly no worse than Bretonnia, I would say.
I would put them. I think Empire's way better than them. So I'd put them in C.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm happy to, if you could put you can have high elves in B if I could move Empire also up to C, B. So I don't. Now I'm looking at Empire with dark elves and chaos dwarves, and I do not feel like
it's a bit harsh.
That's harsh. I don't think that's necessary at all.
All right, you have a deal.
All right, deal. I'm going to put high elves up here as well. I think, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. That seems more reasonable at the moment. Okay, Lizardmen, another legend army for people to know and collect at home. Shout out to Pip and the rest of my Lizardmen fans, Toby as well.
Yep.
Yeah, tough. So easy to collect, incredibly easy to collect. You can either use some of there's loads of old stuff knocking around. There's also loads of new stuff knocking around, so super easy to collect as well.
Beautiful new stuff. Yep.
They paint up really well, so they're also very easy to hobby. So easy to collect, easy to hobby. Are they fun to play? Hell yeah, they're fun to play. You've got little skink jerks that are just generally being jerks to everyone in the world. Now, It's a shame those sculpts aren't very good, but you can do things with skinks which no one else can do, and it's hilarious. So really fun to play. With the Renegade pack, a little bit more options also with the Slan and the Temple Guard, which I think is really beneficial. The Bastiladons are super fun. The Carnosaurs are kind of okay.
Carnosaurs are great. Carnosaurs are really, like, if you're not in a place that will use the Renegade pack, the Carnosaur is kind of one of their crutch units. So
and those are all the theme that you want to play, really. Although you do want the Slan to be good, so the Renegade pack is good for that. So I would say that's great as well. So easy to hobby, easy to play. Thematic and fun to play. That's what I'm trying to get out. And then the skill level, though, that's probably the problem. You need, like, everything else is an S, and then the skill level you need is like a D. Like, you need a skill level like really high. I don't know if that's, as a guy who's been playing them. So like, because it's been my army that I've been maining in my most recent games. Only army I've been playing in Match Play Guide. Pardon me. But now that you have much more viable infantry bricks, Source Warriors and Temple Guards suddenly are not, the dead weight that they once were. Your skinks, they lost a lot to poison, but they're very effective units for being in the right spot to like grab an objective. Even poison in its reduced state is good at chipping wounds. So a couple big wandering units of those are great. Because obviously their legacy, they didn't, a lot of their like spells are bound items, like the Bastiladon, for example, but that hasn't been like reduced in casting level because for whatever reason they don't want to touch the legacy stuff.
So I don't know, the army feels very well rounded. It's not like ridiculously strong, but it doesn't feel super weak either in the games that I've played, which has been great. In Renegade, you do get the old style slan, which is been super fun in the Temple Guard, in my opinion. So I've really genuinely been enjoying them. I would put them, as I would easily put them, in that mid tier level. Certainly not in the basement of the C tier. Perhaps we actually in the final analysis move a lot of things up to A. And I think this would settle into a lovely spot in the B tier, assuming you're playing Renegades. If you're not playing Renegades, they suck on the tabletop. Full stop. They're a misery to play. They're a misery to build an army list with. They feel like I'm not one to usually do conspiracy stuff, but they feel sabotaged in a lot of ways, like Skaven. But with Renegades, they immediately get their identity back and feel a lot better. So that's where I'm at.
I think they're great. I think collecting and playing them is good. It's just the fact that they're legends. Like, it's just that. It's the skill level you need to play them. That's all it is. Are they fun to play? Not as fun as you would like them to be, even though you could make raw noises and being a dinosaur, which you would expect that to be an S. It's just
just a raw legacy PDF. Like they are, to me, like their legacy PDF is so constrained, so bad, and so devoid of flavor that if you're not playing them Renegades, I think they're easily a C tier. If you are playing them Renegades, B tier or above. Like they're tons of fun. That's it.
Yeah. I'll put them in beta as well, but I really wish, like, I feel like everything is singing to me that they're like A and S, apart from how it is to, like, how difficult they are to play. But, like, the ease to collect them is super high. And they're fun to play. They're hella fun to play. It's just a skill level. It requires how easy are they to play. They are not in S or A at all. That's like in the bin. Okay. Ogre Kingdoms next. Ogre Kingdoms. So Ogre Kingdoms, what do we think?
Ogre Kingdoms, I just from a just ease of collection. So they're an AOS faction. All their stuff is still there. They've got some really great start collecting kits or spearhead kits that have existed over the years. So you can find the models. You don't need a ton of them. They are probably a bit tough to play right now, effectively, but again, Match Play Guide I think has improved, and also the FAQ errata has improved things. The fact that you aren't as beholden to having a level 4 caster in your list. I've seen a lot of people dropping their butcher, and being able to then add things to the army. So it's like almost like they got a points increase because they don't have to bring a really expensive caster. Ogre casters always suffer from having to be both an ogre and a caster. So like you're paying points on both sides of that ledger. So ogres do feel like they're a little ascendant, just from like an accessibility perspective. They out of the box, I think they got, as far as legacy is concerned, their rules really aren't terrible. I don't think they're terrible. I think they didn't fit the game very well was the problem. For the most part with ogres, they felt like you weren't getting enough from them. They were too easily killed. But I think they are kind of a fun army to play and send on the tabletop. Mournfang are really good. You can have characters on Stonehorns. Like there's stuff to do with ogres, and they are accessible. And if the big boys sing to you, I think they're not a bad army. Definitely, these guys don't feel like C tier to me. They feel like they are also in that B tier. I feel like we've got more stuff in A tier, and I think these guys are a B tier legacy army for me.
I'd say easy to collect, great. Easy to collect, easy to paint. Are they fun to play? I'd say that they are fun to play. They're not necessarily super strong to play, but they are fun. They've got loads of really fun elements, which I think is nice. And also you generally get to always engage in combat, even something hits you. You normally get to fight some stuff from the front rank. That's pretty nice. So that's fun as well. So easy collect, easy. Are they fun to play? Yes. Are they easy to play? and mess around with. It's a little bit harder, but I don't think it's anywhere near as hard as some of the other armies. So I think it's okay. So I'll happily also put that in B for now. And then we can come back and kind of reshuffle this around towards the end. Right, Orcs and Goblin Tribes. This is easy. Easy to build and paint. They're very accessible. You can get lots of models. They are an army where you have to paint a lot of models, potentially, for certain builds. They have a lot of, but you don't have to build going down the goblin route. You can have black orcs, which is less models. You can also do troll war, which is even less models again, not necessarily super strong. There are some clanger units, definitely. And also maybe as a beginner, it's a little overwhelming because there are so many options available to you, right? Which is a little, I think that's actually over on the negative side from the collection. But you've got just tons to collect, which is great. Ease to play, again, because of that overwhelming nature, not necessarily super easy to play. Because they're not quite as like, I'm really tempted to move Cathay up, to be honest, because I think Cathay is easier to play than Orcs and Goblins, because these are more complicated. And are they fun to play? This is like ultra.
One of the most.
Yeah, this is uber. So I'd actually say that the easy to hobby is a negative because unit choice is hard, and I would say ease of play is also a negative. I'm not saying that they're like in the doldrums. You can play them really, really well, but for a beginner, that's a lot. Both the what to build and paint, what to play, and how to play, both overwhelming, I'd say.
I would say this. The clangers are easy to avoid. Just don't buy the battalion. That's pretty much it. You won't wind up with common goblins. And orc boys are probably not the worst at this point, but you can buy them in a separate box. And I think aside from like a handful, like a smidgen of units, you could almost throw a handful of darts at this army list and have an army that would at least be fun to play. I think where they're hard to, where they're difficult is getting really good, like having an outstanding tournament result. But I think you're going to have an outstanding time with them no matter what. If you put your Orc and Goblin army on the table and you just play as an orc and you just go looking for a fight, I don't know. I play tons of orcs and goblins and it's rarely a bad time. And there's stuff in there if you want to get like really min-maxy and really want to optimize your army, you can do that too. To me, these guys, because of the high model count, don't quite get to the S tier for me, but I do think they're certainly an A tier ahead of Beastmen because I think they're just a better version of Beastmen in every way.
I think that there's I can see the similarities to Beastmen actually, for sure. But I think that they're harder to do than Beastmen, I'd say.
They're one color. They're one color plus some browns.
No, so I meant to play. The play style thing, I think, is the bit that's a down for me.
Night goblins and black orcs? I don't know. I think
if you're a beginner, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You might just get goblins because you're like, I'll have goblins. I don't know.
Yeah, but you might just get Ungor, or you might get Bestigors if you're playing Beastmen. I mean, there's going to be some degree of trial and error. I don't know. I think top of A tier for the only thing that stops them from being S tier for me because of the how wide the thing is. You can collect these things for the rest of your life, and it's the only army you have, and you probably won't get every unit that they have. They're awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Skaven is next. Skaven is next. What do you think about Skaven?
Womp womp. Skaven. These guys are probably, they're in a tough spot. I think Skaven. Again, Renegade pack I think does a lot to give them some of their vibes back. But they are, you can collect them in AOS, but they're a high model count army, so you need lots of these rats, and so they're a bit more pricey in that regard. I think like Lizardmen, they have one of the worst written legacy lists, full stop. Like it's just very restricted and it's just tough to put an army together that's fun. A lot of their rules are letdowns, so they're just a real tough hang on the tabletop without renegades. Although some players who are big Skaven fans have made things work with them, but they aren't necessarily the things that if you were just looking at the range that you'd be excited to be running. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're kind of forced to run stuff that's the best options that they've got, and they're not that great. And yeah, I guess the model availability is there. Obviously, a lot of stuff got refreshed because they're the poster boys of AOS this time around. So like that's not so bad, but they're obviously not a supported faction, and they don't necessarily have fun rules. Renegades does improve that, but it's still not easy to play Skaven and have a good time doing it in the current iteration. So
I think collect and paint is fairly easy. I think playstyle is hella fun, but I think difficulty to play is right in the toilet. So I think that those are the two elements for me. That like that's really bad, really bad to try to play. Is where I'm going to put them.
They feel like they're one of the D armies to me. They're there with demons.
I'd say, oh no, I wouldn't say that they're there because, like, I don't know. Like, I would say that they're kind of in with Dark Elves. Dark Elves playstyle is what brings them down. Chaos Dwarves, its accessibility. Chaos Dwarves maybe even should be lower because its accessibility is really hard. Like,
well, no, because again, they have a plastic range coming out. If you wish, I'd say bottom of C. I would accept for Skaven at the worst. I would. I don't know. They just don't feel like they've got a lot going right now, and they're just in a tough spot. And also, how many fully painted Skaven armies have you ever seen? Even when they had good rules, like it's a slog to get through the amount the amount of models you have to get through. But yeah, Skaven I think are in a tough place.
For sure. Yeah, but they are, though, if you are like hearing this and you are new, and you, especially if you come from Total War, where they're one of the most popular factions. Yes. I think ultimately it's just it's a Legends thing, really, versus like the models, and also playstyle is super hella fun. Everyone who I see playing them, and also because they are generally pretty weak, people love playing against them. So even when you do something stupid with Skaven, it's really fun. Shout out to Kev and all these giant rats all the time, and his blade that keeps killing his general. So like there's some really fun elements to play with them. They are really fun to play, but they just aren't very good to play, which are different convos for sure.
Yeah, the investment to payoff ratio. I think you can make a good army with Dark Elves, and like they're just like a worse version of High Elves. So if they sing to you, that's good. Chaos Dwarves, I think they have a couple of different builds. They've got access to stuff. They're probably one of the stronger rules-based legacy factions. They're just tough to come by. Skaven, the amount of investment and time, like you pour all that investment and time into Orcs and Goblins and Beastmen, which is going to be another Horde-style army. Like, at least you got rules. At least you got, like, hope for the future. You know, like, there's stuff you can do. Whereas Skaven, it just feels, it's very demoralizing. And they've lost a lot of their flavor in their legacy rules. So in 2.0, I think there's a lot, like, for Renegades, they're an army that, like of all of them, like a rewrite for Skaven is probably the most necessary to bring back their Skaven and their identity, their Skavenness and their identity is kind of necessary. It's hard for me. Like, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I just feel bad for Skaven.
Okay. So two kings of Khemri. What do you think?
Okay. Tomb Kings of Khemri. So from a ease of play perspective, doesn't get much easier than ignoring all psychology and being able to bring things back from the dead. I think undead in general favor, like once you learn like your spells and like where things need to be to support stuff, it gives you a real nice set of training wheels. I think they have big monsters and really cool dragons. Strong casting. They're obviously one of the poster boys of this edition. They're one of the 2 starter boxes, and because they're dry undead, they're dusty undead, they're skeletons. Easy to paint up. They paint up real fast because you can either go the old school dry brush technique or you can go with contrast paints. I don't know. They feel pretty high up there for me. What about you?
Easy to collect, obviously, easy to paint for sure. I think there's some maybe sus units, but all the things that look attractive are good, which I think is nice as well. You can just build a bunch of monsters and throw them at people, and that kind of works, and that's important as well. They do some magic-y stuff. They are sandy, so they are fun to play. Also, you've got some very fun units that are fun to play, like Scorpions as an example.
Yes,
like they're
very strong. Yeah.
But they're also really fun because like they do something that's like elemental. So yeah, I'd just say they're an S tier army. Like,
yeah, that feels right.
I feel like there's zero arguments there, which is interesting because like on launch I was like, Tomb Kings is a weird choice, like at the start of the game, but actually Like that's a real good army, I think, to build and collect. So yeah, excellent. Straight up there. Next
the
up,
only weird choice to me was not redoing the models, especially their sort of core infantry. But for whatever reason, not as big of a hang up as I think we predicted. I think a lot of people are okay with some of the derp out there. And if the new plastics that they're getting is any sign of the future, they're going to look real nice if they ever get refreshed.
Yeah, for sure. They'll look really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we got vampire counts. So pretty easy to build and collect. So they're available in the AOS range. You can either paint these really, really well, or you can do contrasts and streak and grime and other stuff. So they can be very easy to hobby for sure. You can do both of those two things. So I'd say hobby is just straight at the top. It's very easy. Maybe you need a lot of models. Maybe is the downside. Maybe
they're going to be AOS, so you need a lot of AOS models. So they're going to be expensive. Is what I was going to say. Is what I'm saying. Like you could make like buying 120 AOS zombies is very different than if they were 120 old world zombies, because the kits are sometimes 50-100% more expensive when they're AOS models. So that would be my main downside for vampire counts, because again they have very strong they very, very good rules as far as the legacy PDFs go, and that's not just the power pieces, so the things that you see being played the most. I think they have a situation where they have a lot of best in slot kind of situations where the second best thing is still pretty good. So like you don't have to play it as like the main archetype army all the time. You got lots of places you can explore and do stuff, and you have really pretty new models for them. They are legacy. I don't know. Are you feeling A or B for them? And all the benefits of being an undead army on top of all of that.
Yeah, they're definitely fun to play. Raising up zombies and raising up other models is fun, for sure. Watching your opponent kill stuff, raising them up, really, really fun. Again, hobby really good. And then are they easy to play? Yeah, they're very forgiving. You can make a lot of mistakes. Yes. And then you can be like, oh, actually, I'll just raise them back. That's fine. So actually, yeah, pretty easy to play. But you do need to kind of understand the rules, maybe a little bit more minutia of the rules. Is this our only legend army that's going to make it to A or not?
If they feel like a strong A, they do feel like A to me. And also, this is pure speculation. I think undead vampire counts, they got to come back at some point in some form. We've heard rumors of them becoming Mousillon or something sort of non-Von Karstein. So yeah, I feel like an A army is good for them.
Last two, we got the Wood Elf Realms. So you can obviously collect the battalion box straight from the plastic kit, so it's pretty easy to build. It's green, so it's pretty easy to paint as well if you wanted to. You don't need tons of models. It's fairly elite if you want to go along that route. So like I'd say from the hobby perspective, there's lots of options here. It's pretty easy to do. Like really not
great battalion
challenging.
Box. Outstanding battalion box.
Yeah. The only downside would be the cavalry, which are a nightmare to build and paint. So I'd say that's a big negative. And then are they fun to play? I don't think so. That's a me personal opinion. Are they easy to play? Also, no. And it's really they're not easy to play is what causes them to not be fun to play. Now, if you can pull off it's basically if I can describe it to anybody, it's like fucking on the end of a building. You're like I'm right there, but if it goes wrong, it's going to go really wrong. Right?
Fair.
Does that make sense?
Last cannon, I think, would be another way to call that. But yes,
I like my system. So yeah, like they're really challenging to play, and therefore, if they fall apart really quickly. So and it can just feel like other stuff can just rip through what your very fragile army is. There are other versions of this, like you can just run all trees, as an example. We've seen people like Rebecca do okay with that. Okay to good.
Ambush meta as well with their they can do some ambush stuff with the Arcane Journal version of that army. They're very strong around special features, which feature in a lot of the new missions. I think if we were doing this before before the MPG, I would probably put them in like top of C, just because of how hard they are to use, because they're very appealing army. They look cool. They're wood elves, right? Like they're the most elvy of all three elves, I would say, from like just a trad fantasy kind of perspective. But yeah, even now, it's hard for me to see them outside of like the bottom of B, or like just ease of collecting is really all they've got. But they do seem to be a real, like, not a lot of payoff. There's a lot of sadness amongst the Wood Elf fans out there right now. Maybe the MPG meta gives, like, the match play guide changes and stuff, give them more stuff to do and a better ability to hang. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm feeling it. What about you?
I'd say these are just a C tier army. I think two of the elements of our three metrics, like easy to collect, easy to collect and paint for sure. But are they fun and are they easy? No, and they're kind of handhold. But if you are someone, these are very specific. Like if we were going to use some like pseudoscience, like a Myers-Briggs, or you do a Jimmy Timmy, whatever the fuck the MGTG people say, which is obviously stupid. You would be like, there's a certain psychographic profile of someone who just likes to ride the lightning, where this is going to be like everything they've ever wanted. The problem is they're playing a game that takes 3 hours, which feels like a huge mistake. They should
maybe
be
not 3 hours if you're playing Wood Elves, though.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not. So, like, I'd say that yes, they're a C, but maybe that's because of how you and I like to play, and there is a certain category of person where this is going straight to S, and they love it, and I think that's a fair shout. Although why aren't you playing Beastmen is probably the other answer to that.
Yeah. For sure, they're a natural play. But yeah, top of C feels good. Feels appropriate for them for their downsides right now, and that could change very quickly. You know, with an edition change or a cool arcane journal. All that kind of stuff could happen and change them up. So and like I said, really great start collecting. One of the best, up there with Cathay.
So Warriors of Chaos is our last one.
Oh boy,
easy peasy. Are they easy to build and paint? Absolutely.
Yes.
Loads of models available. Very easy to paint. Yes. Very easy to hobby and paint. Are they fun to play? Also yes.
Also yes.
Also yes. Are they also yes? And are they easy to play? Also yes-ish.
Yeah.
If you're new,
again, at like a base level, absolutely, they're just send it type guys, right? Like, dwarves are run into my fist, and Chaos Warriors of Chaos are like, I'm gonna run into that fist, at a baseline, right? Like they're very much a just send it army, but they're also low model count. They're durable. They've got lots of stuff that gets them out of jams. They're a little more forgiving.
Really wide roster of stuff. None of which is particularly terrible. Your warrior of chaos is just a chosen, be it for just saying it's a different unit. So if you paint up core, you've also painted up elite units if you want them. Not that you overly want chosen. Like these I think are the easiest S of the bunch actually. Because everything about them. Are they fun to play? I think they're fun to play.
Absolutely, I think so.
Rolling on the Eye of the Gods is a fun mechanic, which only you get to do. No one gets to stop you. We should have also said that about... we should say that about Wood Elves. Wood Elves, you also get to put forests and stuff down as well, which I don't think... I think that adds to the fun element a lot.
Yeah, I mean, at least you always have a forest, which helps all the forest-driven mechanics that you have to use. But I don't think that gets them out of the basement there. The Warriors of Chaos to me are probably top of S. I think they would probably be. I think they rightfully are the Space Marines of fantasy. Always have been, and I think that's where they would be.
They're good though, because they're a good protagonist for the game, right? They're the bad guys. And you're like, okay, how good are they as a bad guys?
Say antagonist.
And that word. Thank you. So. So they're up there and they're crushing it. So I think that's good. Good list. Good list. Solid. I think I'm fairly happy with most of that. But obviously many people are going to have opinions in the comments, so do let us know. And obviously also how we play as players massively differentiates in, is an army fun to play? Is an army easy to play? Also, you're going to hear a lot of people in the comments or just generally say stuff like, that army is easy to play, having probably played almost no games. And so just... Again, take your models and go put them on the table and play games. Don't listen to people. When they're like, I remember, again, just to throw back, when I first started playing Warhammer, people were like, ogres, they're easy to play. You just use your movement. And I was like, what does that mean? And it turns out what they meant was, don't use ogres. But those idiots online were just saying nonsense. So you know, be conscious that the stuff you're hearing isn't necessarily super relevant to how you play. Go find your own thing and go have fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looking at the only one that sort of doesn't sit right for me is maybe demons at this point. But you know, are they that much worse than you know where dark elves and chaos dwarves are? I don't know. But I would say as a beginner, I think it's fair to say that the sort of C and D tiers are sort of are ones that, you know, are probably not a bad ones to steer clear of, and that doesn't feel so bad to me. Whereas I think what we do have accurate here is, you know, being above, I feel like those are armies that you can put on the table, have a good time with. Lizardmen really heavily dependent on renegades. I think if you don't use renegades, I would probably put them top of C, just because of how brutal that army list is. They suffer greatly, just like Skaven and demons do. From their legacy army, like the actual grand army composition is terrible. And some of their, you know, they don't have the juiced up slan, obviously. So, but other than that, I mean, B and above, I think those are all just fine options for like a beginner. And I think they would be, you know, from there, it's what are your vibes? Like, what do you want to do? And like what appeals to you the most? And I don't think you can really go wrong with them.
Yeah, don't forget, of course, to just go out there, play games, and have fun. Val, this has been a delightful little experience, and we hope that this has provided a useful resource for people who are planning on playing in 2025 or beyond. And let us know if there's anything else, or beyond. Let us know if there's anything else we could do you know, to follow this up. I'm sure there'll be lots of comments, which will be really fun to unpick. Which will be really cool as well.
Love the comments.
Love the comments.
We are some of the rarest YouTubers who can actually read our comments to feel good about ourselves and have a nice time. So I appreciate all of the feedback and comments. I still enjoy reading and responding to them.
That's been a fun time. Yeah, so let us know what you think. You happy with the tier list? You comfortable?
Yeah, no, I think that was very good. I think being up, you can't go wrong, honestly. And then definitely the S tier, I think, is very accurate as far as like really good beginner armies.
Absolutely, yeah. Warriors of Chaos, Tomb Kings, and Dwarven Mountain Holds, I think, is an absolute solid pick. With maybe Warriors and Tomb Kings, because you do get like a little bit more magic, a little bit more list diversity, a little bit more to play with. And I don't think that's a bad shout at all. All right, well, this has been a really fun time. I hope everyone has enjoyed themselves. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Thanks very much. Goodbye.